Trae. Come on, it's the day with Trae. Trae with Trae. With Trae. Come on, it's the day with Trae. Trae with Trae. With Trae. Come on, it's the day with Trae.
Pump it up, pump it up.
Trae.
Come on, come on.
With Trae.
Pump it up, pump it up.
It's the day with Trae.
This is the day to gain inspiration, to make a positive change in the nation. We're inviting you to partake in conversation, to raise your vibration. It's the day that we will all celebrate all of our peeps that make this thing elevate. Watch the negative fade away, cause it's the day with Trae.
Grand Rising, everyone. Welcome to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I want to welcome you to a wonderful Wednesday. I am so excited. I have two phenomenal women in the building. Up first, I get the pleasure to talk to Taylor Raven. She is playing Rosina in Seattle Opera's production of Barber of Seville. Y'all, this is one of those operatic comedies, so I'm so excited to talk to Taylor about her opera journey and how she's bringing her own mix to the character of Rosina on that stage for us all. And later on in the show, I have the pleasure of speaking with Quiana Daniels, the CEO of Children's Nursing Services. She's going to be telling us all about National Infertility Awareness Week, y'all. So we have two phenomenal guests in the building today. So excited that they are both joining me on the Day with Trae. But of course, it's time for you to participate with us. It is the top of the show, so it's a great time for you to tag and share the stream. That's right, y'all. You get to participate as well. Y'all are helping us grow here. We appreciate it. Go ahead and share the stream with folks who you feel could benefit from a daily dose of dopeness right here on the Day with Trae. And if you can't watch our show, don't trip. We got you covered because you can listen to us anywhere you find your favorite podcast. Just search Converge Media Network and the Day with Trae, and you'll find us on whichever platform is your favorite. Now, y'all, I get really excited when we have the opportunity to get into the arts. And you know, I am such an arts person that I love being able to dive into some of these stories about their backgrounds. So I'm so excited to talk to Taylor Raven, who's playing, again, Rosina in The Barber of Seville. Hi, Raven. Hi, Taylor. Look, I love your last name. Hi, how are you?
I know, I'm two first names, so it's okay.
How's it going?
It's going well. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so glad you could make time in your busy schedule to join me. You know, opera is something I'm really becoming a fan of. So when I have the opportunity to talk to an opera singer, I always love to hear your background. Tell us what got you started in singing, and then what made you go from maybe singing to opera.
Yeah, it was an interesting kind of journey there. I grew up in a really musical household. My mother and father are both really great singers, and they kind of instilled that in me at a really young age. And they were both worship leaders at our church. I grew up in church, and I would sit in their rehearsals and watch them sing, and I would often sing at church as well. So it kind of started there with this just kind of love for singing and sharing your voice with people. And when I went to school and kind of started thinking about what I wanted to do for a living, music was nowhere in the mix. You know, I wanted to go into science or math. I was a math major for a little while. And I don't know if this has happened to you, but there's this moment that I can't explain where things just shifted for me, and I can't even really put my finger on the moment that I decided, I think I want to sing as a career, but it just kind of like happened. And I found myself auditioning for the music department. I sang a Beatles song. I didn't know what I was doing. I had never had any experience with classical singing, classical music, anything. But I met the right person at the right time, this amazing woman named Louise Toppin, who was my first voice teacher. And she introduced me actually to a lot of Black classical composers. That was kind of my first entrance into this world of opera, and I've just kind of been going for it ever since. I know, like, it was a really big shift from science and math to music, but there's so much science in music that I found the transition kind of seamless, and yeah, I've been going for it ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
From science and math to music.
Yeah.
Well, it's always great because, you know, there's something in you that probably was sparked when you were in those choirs, right? Like you
Yeah,
go
of
back
course.
to like, oh, yo, like what it meant and what it felt like. And so I'm glad you found yourself on this side of music. And, you know, there's something really special about the way stories are told in the opera. And I think I'm so excited for my partnership with Seattle Opera because we're really making people understand that this is just another format of storytelling. Tell us about some of those peaks that you've experienced since you joined the world of opera.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, I think opera is so specific and in its own right, and it kind of seems a bit kind of out of touch in a way to some. I think, but I've found like I've had the most like personal kind of very spiritual moments as a singer and as a performer, and with this music. I think like discovering the characters and having the music kind of also tell the story behind you. It's such a supportive kind of wonderful experience. I've, you know, gotten to do some really cool things. I got to sing Carmen, which is another iconic role this summer, and that was incredible and such a cool experience. And I've gotten to work with so many amazing artists and learn so much about myself and about, you know, just different people from all walks of life. I've been to so many cities and, you know, countries and things I never would have done if it wasn't for opera. So it's broadened my worldview and the way that I see the world.
Well, it's beautiful to hear that too, because I think, you know, now there is a need to open up the form a bit more in terms of diversifying it so that people can feel comfortable. I think coming to opera houses and seeing themselves on stage, even though sometimes a lot of the characters are these like older iconic kind of characters, right? We're also seeing some new emerging artists in you know, figure out how to get their works in opera and how to be, you know, really specific to the genre while also being open to different cultural backgrounds. So I found that I'm having such a great time exploring the world of opera in that way. But I also love some good old oldies like Wagner. What are some of those like roles that you've really enjoyed playing since you've been an opera singer?
Yes, I actually did my first Russian opera a couple summers ago, and I found that to be such a cool experience. It was a language that I didn't have a lot of experience in, and it was just this gorgeous, lush music that I'd never really experienced before. And I found that to be really, really interesting and such a new and different experience than what I was used to. But I've been exposed to so many different things, so many languages, so many stories, so many characters that I've gotten to kind of walk away with learning something about myself in each of those kind of, you know, each of those experiences. So yeah, opera's a wonderful thing.
Well, I think, you know, in the terms of live music, live theater almost, right? Like there's always something that you get to bring to the character that's really organic to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I love hearing you say that because I think that the audience resonates with that every time.
Yes.
Right. And I've been able to see some phenomenal opera singers and I'm just like, whoa, you know, the way they did it is so different. Like if I find something on YouTube, I'm like, oh, that's a little bit different.
Yes.
You know, so there's always these kind of personal characteristics that you get to bring to the role. Tell us a bit about operatic comedy, right? Because I think a lot of times people think of opera and they think slow, you know, very serious love stories or tragic stories. Tell us what it is and the experience you're having playing Rosina in The Barber of Seville.
Yeah, I love singing Rosina for this very reason, because you can't take yourself too seriously. You know, it's all for fun, it's all for games, and you can just kind of like go out there and just like let it take you, and it's just extremely fun. It's all about timing. That's the hardest thing about comedy in any, you know, genre. It's all about timing and being spontaneous, appearing spontaneous, even in a planned scenario, you know, of making the audience feel like you didn't plan that. It just happened, you know? I think that's the kind of cool thing about comedic roles like this one. There's also, even in the comedy, there is a lot of vulnerability and a lot of realness too. I think it balances it out. You know, this this character that I'm playing, Rosina, she's in a situation that feels like prison to her, you know, and she's kind of stuck in this situation with this old grumpy man who wants to marry her for her money. It's not what she wants, right? And it's nothing really that funny, but there's all these things. I think comedy comes from really dark places, I think. So yeah, it's just a really interesting kind of journey as a character who's going through something kind of horrific, to kind of find the fun in it. It's very interesting.
Well, I know I'm going to be seeing it soon, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But I also got to ask about, you know, how it's been to be with the other opera singers in this cast.
Yeah.
You know, there's always something unique that brings to that's a different level of the experience, I think, from one show to another. Tell us about how you've been able to connect with some of the other opera singers for this production.
That's my favorite thing about the arts. I think the collaborative nature of it. I've done this show 3 times. So this will be my 3rd time, and it's a completely different experience, you know. It's the same music, you know, it's the same thing on paper, but it's a completely different show to me. And that's because of my colleagues and what they bring to it. I've had so much fun, you know, with them, learning from them, hanging out with them, you know, that's just kind of like a part of the job that's really cool and special. But I just really respect, you know, what they bring to the stage and how open they are. And you'll see that when you come to the show. They're very open and generous with their gifts and with, you know, the way that they see the characters. And it's very supportive, and you'll feel that as well. It's just like a very good energy. And I think that's going to translate to the performance.
Oh, that's really good. I'm excited to hear that. You know, lastly, I've been experiencing Seattle Opera's intentionality to, you know, not only open the doors, but to make sure that folks feel like, hey, McCall Hall, like when Seattle Opera is here, we are here for y'all.
Yes.
You know, opening it up for folks to really feel like they belong. I want to ask you about your experience with Seattle Opera, because, you know, I'll be honest, I'll toot the horn a little bit because I keep hearing on the opera streets that, you know, Seattle Opera is doing things a bit differently than some other opera houses globally. And so it gives me great pride to know that there's this level of intentionality happening here in Seattle with Seattle Opera. What has your experience been to be with all of the folks who are helping to make this production come to life?
Yeah, I think you do feel that when you walk in to Seattle Opera for the first time. I worked with them about 8 years ago. It was my first real professional, you know, gig was with Seattle Opera. And we did this opera called As One about a trans woman. And it was really interesting to see the company's kind of championing of these like underrepresented people. And I feel like I've just seen that kind of evolve throughout the years. And when I came back, it was even more ingrained into their message and into their mission. And you feel that. You feel welcomed. You feel accepted. You don't feel like you have to earn anything. You're there, and they believe in your artistry, and you feel that right away, and you feel safe.
Wow.
And I think that's something that makes Seattle Opera special.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll see. Look, I didn't even know you started here right on, Taylor.
A long time ago. Yeah, well, not really, but it feels like a long time ago.
Well, of course, people want to come and see you as Rosina in the Barber of Seville. Look right there. Let them know how they get their tickets.
Yes, just go to seattleopera.org and purchase a ticket. And there are 2 different casts, so you can see 2 different shows and come twice. So yeah, please get your tickets, and we'd love to see you there.
Taylor, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to
Thank
join
you
me
for
today.
having me.
Yeah, it was so great to connect with you. I can't wait to see you on stage.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. This is already starting off wonderfully. Of course, we're going to continue this wonderfulness. Up next, we got Quiana Daniels in the building. We're going to be learning all about the National Infertility Awareness Week, y'all. You don't want to miss this. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Here on Back to Vesa, it's always been important to me that we uplift stories from across the region and that no matter where you live in the nation, you never have to miss a moment of the show as we continue to highlight the beauty, excellence, and resilience of our communities across the Pacific Northwest. Why? Because representation matters. So no matter where you live, be it the Central District or Centralia, Portland or Pullman, or anywhere across the country, I encourage you to join me on this Back to Vesa journey by downloading the free Fox Local app on your phone or smart TV as we continue to elevate the very best in our communities.
What's up, everybody? Trae Holiday here with a special announcement. Something sexy for the city is coming to our town, Tacoma Dome, May 3rd. You want to get your tickets today because you want to see Ashanti, Monica, Maya, Kiki Wyatt, and Anne Marie. Y'all, I have the pleasure of emceeing this phenomenal concert. Join me and get your tickets today for an epic performance from these R&B divas.
Start the show.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. Joining me right now is Quiana Daniels. Hi, Quiana.
Hi, Trae.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so honored to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad you could make it. I mean, I want to dive in because, you know, there's a lot that we want to talk about today, but I got to start with your background. Clearly, you have a background in nursing. What got you to say you need to pour your passion into the nursing field?
Well, it actually is pretty much goes back to childhood where I always wanted to be in the healthcare field. And it was actually at a moment in my life where I was homeless at 16 and I was dealing with that. And I went in, I was actually working as a CNA, as a nursing assistant, certified nursing assistant. And there was a resident called, her name was Miss Johnson. And I clocked in, she motioned me to come over, and because I was just so ready to give up. I was like, I'm just tired. I'm tired of fighting. And she just looked at me and she said, you know what? I appreciate the care that you all give me. I have no family. You're like family to me. And she said, thank you. And here I am. I'm feeling sorry for myself, ready to give up. And here Miss Johnson is in a wheelchair. We were taking total care of her. And even suffering from dementia. And she took time out. I guess she saw what was going on with me and said, thank you. And you know what? At that point, the patient became the healer. I was supposed to be taking care of her. Miss Johnson took care of me. And so that was a special tie to the medical field, to nursing. The bond was sealed.
Wow. This is beautiful because, you know, oftentimes people don't understand what CNAs do and how connected you are to your patients. It is what a lot of folks understand as the beginning kind of nursing. Yeah. And so there's a lot of in-depth work that y'all are doing as CNAs. So I love that story and it just touched my heart so much. Now, you know, tell us about the progression of you in nursing and then what got you to open Childress Nursing Services.
Absolutely. After that moment, I picked myself up. I went to college at University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Go Golden Lions. and I graduated with a degree in biology. And it was such an amazing experience. Former First Lady Michelle Obama was our commencement speaker.
Wow.
And she singled me out in that speech. And she just talked about everything that I had gone through and how if I could overcome being homeless at 16 to graduating at the top of my class, then everybody else could overcome the adversity that they may feel in their own lives.
Wow. So serious. Wow.
So it was just so much happened from there. She allowed me to just opened up, allowed me to tell my story, and really live my dreams, and so yeah, and so years later got my RN, and then Children's Nursing Services is now born. Well, was born a little bit beforehand, and actually started Children's Nursing Services as after surgery home program because there's something about me where I like helping people in transition. Because, and I guess I feel like so that I was helped so much during my transitions. And what I did notice was that people were being released a little too early from surgery, and they needed an additional help. And I saw that. And when I opened the doors to CNS, the first call that I get 2 weeks in, first call I get was actually from a fertility patient.
Wow.
And it was the husband, and he was like, "Hey, I see you do after surgery care, but do you do fertility injections? Do you do home nurse service?" I was like, "Well, we do home nurse services." And so he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I was told I have to do these injections," and he was like, "My wife is afraid of needles." He says, "I am fearful of giving these. These are so important. Can you help us?" And being at this point 10 years into nursing, I was like, I knew about fertility, but it's not something that's widely taught in nursing school. It's like a little segment. And so I was like, well, let me do some research. And so I did some research, and I started finding out I was reading all these forums where people were talking about the issues that they were having with these injections, with the side effects, and that they needed support, and that it was lacking. And I was like, oh. And so I called him back, and I was like, hey, yes, I will be more than happy to help you. We'll be going through this together. But, I have the skills, and I will learn everything I need to do to make sure that you and your wife gets through this comfortably and effectively.
Wow.
And they now have 2 boys.
Oh my goodness. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you wouldn't know about if you're not in that, right?
Yes.
Like, so I have no frame of reference. And this is really interesting and intriguing to me because who would have known that there was a need like this? Because you think, I hear people say, oh yeah, I had to, do these, these fertility injections. I had to do these fertility injections. And you think it's just, you just know how to do it, or they train you through it, or you're doing it at the doctor's office. So I didn't realize that this was a huge need. I'm glad that you were able to essentially really train yourself and then go through the process with families. So tell us about how folks started to understand what CNS was doing and how CNS was helping in that way.
Well, our very first client, he came back and he was like, you helped us so much. Can you offer this to more people? I know more people who need this. And I'm like, sure. And he was like, here, actually, I want you to talk to my fertility doctor. He says, 'cause I want to make sure that she sends people to you.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we started partnering with the local fertility clinics and saying, hey, this is what we do. And rest was kind of history from there.
This is phenomenal. So you've experienced some pretty rapid growth then by being able to partner with fertility clinics and being able to service families in need. What are some of those peaks for you when you think about the families you've been able to help? I mean, you just said it, your first client, now they have 2 boys. Those are the kind of success stories people want to know about, right? When they're approaching this type of service and needing this type of help. What are some of those things that really stand out to you in terms of how you've been able to help families?
Oh my gosh. Actually, interesting enough, in our books, we actually have stories where actually clients have written letters.
Wow.
To us, to our nurses, talking about how much they appreciated our services and how much it has helped them. But the stories are absolutely are absolutely phenomenal when you see I get a chance to see a client from very beginning. You know, they're scared they're a little bit apprehensive, and then we start, and seeing from that moment to actually holding the baby in hand, that just blows my mind. Because I'm like, this is where we started.
Wow. I mean, this is so mind blowing to me. I'm so glad that you're here today to shed some light on this. You know, now moving further into this, I mean, you know, we're about to approach National Infertility Awareness Week, right? Tell us more about this and why people need to be engaged in this topic.
Well, the purpose of Infertility Awareness Week is to raise awareness on infertility. It still is very taboo and have a stigma associated with it. And what the whole point of Infertility Awareness Week is to say, hey, we know this problem exists because 1 in 6 people globally suffer from infertility. So what that means is somebody you may know is suffering from infertility, and many times suffer in silence. And that's what we see even a lot with our clients, is being opening them up, because many of the times family members don't know, friends don't know, so they're either going through it by themselves or with their partner, and that's it. And then when our home fertility nurse comes in, we become like their nurse BFF.
Wow. Well, it's clear that that support is necessary. And I'm glad that, you know, nationally, we can recognize this issue that so many families are facing when it comes to infertility. You know, there's almost always things that people can do to either educate themselves. And so I always encourage, but when we have these national weeks and like, especially awareness weeks, it's like, if you just Google it, you can find some things maybe locally or some ways to educate yourself. What are some of the things that you've been able to share in terms of folks understanding some of the resources that are available out there?
Well, so one of the things is the first resource should be your OB-GYN. And we do know historically there have been not as much information, or especially with African American women, in getting that information. So there are sites like resolve.org, ASRM, American Society of Reproductive Medicine, those websites. Even on our own website, we have a resource tab. So people can learn more about infertility, because it affects us. A lot of people don't know that even as African American women, right, that we are twice as likely to need fertility treatments. Wow. And that actually goes against the kind of the grand view of African American women are just kind of, you can just blowing us and we get pregnant. That's not true. Yeah. So we're twice as likely to suffer from infertility, and we're half as likely to get treatment and seek treatment. And that's because 1, the accessibility is diminished, and 2, the awareness is not there.
Yeah. I mean, this has got to be one of those things too, where people feel, like you said, a family has to feel comfortable and safe in order to do this. And so tell us about the level of care that CNS provides for families to make sure, like maybe in that first initial consult, that they're able to kind of, you know, relax their shoulders a bit, remove some of that tension about this process. What are some of the ways that y'all are doing it culturally responsively, or the ways that you're really assisting families so that they can feel safe and comfortable?
So before we give any injections, we have what our signature CNS first stork home visit. And what that entails is we're supporting clients mentally and emotionally. We are going over relaxation techniques. We're educating clients on kind of what to expect. These are some different things as far as with expectations. So let's look at more realistic expectations of how this normally goes. We're educating them on the process. It's a big educational component, and how your body is about to go through some things and some challenges over this next 14 or up to 12-week process, depending on where they are in the particularly IVF process. So before we give any injection, we're going over there. We're educating them. We have our fertility book where they're able to, we go through that. Here are the things that you need to be eating. Here are the things that you need to be doing, even to the point of exercise. We've had clients who actually had, who went through several cycles and then found out about our services and were like, we want you. And we were like, okay, even though you've gone through this before, we still do our initial visit. And the first thing we're like, okay, these are things you shouldn't be eating. She's like, I'm not supposed to be drinking beer. I'm like, and she was like, out of all these cycles, how am I just learning about this? Wow. So what you see is by the end of the visit, the shoulders are high and then they drop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet. Well, you brought some of the resources that y'all offer to your families and to those looking to need your services. So clearly, y'all have put a lot of thought into the approach that you're taking. I'm so glad that you could be here to shine some light, not only on the services you offer, but also National Infertility Awareness Week. Of course, there's probably somebody listening out here who's like, I need these services because going at it alone may be a bit difficult. I want you to get some time and look right there in the camera and let folks know how they connect with CNS.
Well, to book your CNS stork, to start the process, go to our website at www.childressnursing.com and fill out the online form, and our client care coordinators will get to you soon.
Wow. Thank you so much for sticking it out through your own adversity to now be able to help so many families, building an entire business off of passion that you have and realizing this niche market as you were entering into the world of nursing yourself. This is beautiful. I really appreciate you sharing your story, and thank you for your intentionality to put that care first for families. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, y'all. I'm talking about inspiration abounds. Y'all know I'm going to wrap all of this up when we get back from this short break. I'm so excited. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
The importance to share the history of the Buffalo Soldiers of Seattle and Buffalo Soldiers of everywhere, including cowboys and cowgirls of color everywhere, is really important because most likely they're forgotten. It's important that they're acknowledged, especially for girls like me who look up to them.
At a rodeo, it's got an impact on people when they see somebody doing something like that, especially a person of color, you know what I mean? It's got a big impact on people, I think.
Representing the Evergreen State, I am your Miss Teen Rodeo Washington, Jessa Thomas. Welcome to the Windswept Farm.
Welcome back, y'all, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I'm so elated that my guests were here today. Huge shout out to Taylor Raven playing Rosina in Seattle Opera's production of The Barber of Seville. Make sure you go to the website, seattletheopera.org. Get your tickets today. This is a fun opera, y'all. It is got a funny, comedic vibe. If you are new to the world of opera, this might be a great one for you to start with because it's light and it's refreshing and you're sure to have some laughs. So get your tickets today. You don't want to miss that show. And of course, huge shout out, y'all, to Quiana Daniels. What a powerful, inspiring story of perseverance and dedication to serving families. You know, this is so necessary as we think about the world of infertility. Who knew that Black women were twice as likely to suffer with infertility when it comes to these numbers, and that they're the ones that are half as likely to get the actual treatment they need? We need more services like CNS to guide us through the process. So if you know of someone out there who has been struggling with this and trying to find their way, please go to childressnursing.com. Make sure you guys fill out that form, get connected with some amazing caregivers who are going to guide you through the process. Y'all know I'm inspired by what my guests here shared today. I want y'all to be inspired because, again, no matter what the area is, if you start pouring your passion into something for others to experience, we all end up with a better result than if you don't. Or if you keep it to yourself. You know, that's selfish. Don't do that. So share it with others, y'all. Be inspired to be a part of the solution, as my guests have shown you that they are here today. Y'all know we're going to keep this rocking and rolling. And for me, until tomorrow, y'all, at 11 a.m., peace. Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.